Hi, it's Janet Wakeland with RemarkablyCreated.com. In today's One Take Wonder video, we're going to look at a whole bunch of different kinds of techniques using ribbon. This is part of a series that I did on ribbon where those who subscribed to the series received a series of actual technique cards that they could put on a really cute holder that was already done and assembled for them, as well as 3 cards, sampling of ribbons, and some different tutorials and things like that. So this is the third part in the series. If you're looking for more ideas with ribbon, you can go ahead and look for the links in the description for part 1 and part 2. So let's just kind of jump right in. I love ribbon. I think that ribbon can add just a really nice touch quickly and easily to all kinds of projects, from cards to crafting to scrapbooking. When you're working with ribbon, you're going to want an assortment of adhesives, your glue dots, your snail, your sticky strip, and then you're going to want a really good pair of ribbon scissors. These from Stampin' Up! Cut like butter, and they are awesome for working with your different types of ribbon. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at what I have to show you today. First, we're going to start with our cute little polka dotted ribbons. And these use an extremely high-tech tool. And let's just grab our Bermuda Bay ink. And I think I like this technique because I love all these cute little pencils that they always have out around all the different holidays and things like that. But what you really want is you want that little eraser on the end of a pencil. And all you're simply going to do, since it's a rubber eraser, it works just like a rubber stamp, is you're going to be able to use that to stamp on your ribbon. Now I am using just classic ink because I intend to put this on a card, and I don't intend that my ribbon is going to go through a washer or anything like that. If you were going to be using ribbon on a project that was going to get wet and washed, you would want to use acrylic paint, or some of the different craft stores sell fabric paints and fabric inks. But the purpose that I'm using these ribbons for is card making and scrapbooking, and so I'm not anticipating again that they'll get wet, so our classic ink works great. So there you have it. The most simplest technique of all is just simply adding cute little polka dots. This one's tricolor, real cute on a baby boy card. You'll see that sample on my blog. Again, dots. So real simple, real fun, real easy technique for us there. In one of the previous videos, I did something called a loose twist ribbon. Well, this is a tight twist ribbon. And let's go ahead and grab our adhesive. And I just have a piece of our beautiful taffeta ribbon. I already have a piece of cardstock. Make sure that it's going to go across the center. So I've adhered it to the back, and I'm just going to kind of hold that, and I'm just going to start to give it a twist. And what's nice about this technique is it adds ribbon to a project, and you can still mail it. It's going to go nice and flat. It's not going to be all bumpy that it might be with a bow or something like that. So I'm just twisting it by hand. And you're going to make that twist as tight as you would like it to be. It's got to be aesthetically pleasing to you. And so you're just going to twist it. And then when you get around to the back, you can just go ahead and add more glue. And I did that right along the seam of the 2 different color cardstocks. There I have a nice tight twist of my ribbon, and I'll be able to layer that onto my card. And that was the project that you see here, is that tight twist ribbon. You can also do a loose twist, and we did that in one of the previous videos. Another thing to do with your ribbon is to simply just add little tabs with your ribbon. You're just going to cut a length of your ribbon, and you're going to fold it into a loop or also a tab. And then you can staple it right behind. So you have a tab that's going behind. You could glue it right behind. You can also just add it to the ends of a gift tag or something like that. And here I folded it in half and stapled it. So just little ribbon tabs. This is great for all your little scraps. You don't want to throw these away because these are perfect for bookmarks. These are perfect for inserts. If you've got gift cards that you want to pull out, you can adhere them on and things like that. So little ribbon tabs. I mean, very, very simple. Nothing fancy with those. So that's your ribbon tabs that you have. Another thing that you can do is you can stamp right on your ribbon. You can do simple straight lines. You can pick any color. Stamping works better with our lighter color ribbons. Our neutrals seem to be ones, of course, that are going to show the contrast with the ink. And let's just grab our background builders here. And put this on our block. And you can use really, really small stamps if you want. Here you're seeing that I'm going to use an actual larger stamp. And I'm going to go ahead and lay it right down over top. And I always like to press and hold for just a second. Ribbon is porous, and so I do want some of that ink to be absorbed into it. And there now you can see, let me move it away from the ink. You can see where you have a really nice piece of printed ribbon, which is going to add a nice element to your project when you're working on it. And again, you can use different kinds of stamps. We'll clean that one later. Let's set that aside. And let's just use a different one here for a minute. We'll use our flowering flourishes. And let's just grab the big old one just to show you again. Your tendency is to want to grab a little stamp because you're working with a little piece of ribbon, but you know, the bigger ones leave a pretty imprint as well too. You're going to get different lines. You're going to be able to catch different edges. So maybe you have a special occasion, a wedding or an anniversary or something coming up, and you want pretty ribbon that's tone on tone or two different tones with a little bit of an imprint or something. And so making your own ribbon for special occasions that color coordinate with the color theme of that event is a great way to go. So we'll go ahead and let's set those aside. Another option that you have is you have the option of heating the ribbon. Now, not every ribbon will heat and scrunch up nice, so you kind of want to play with the different kinds of ribbon, and you just want to kind of grab a different little length of it and your heat tool, and you're simply going to apply heat to it until it starts to shrink, and keep applying heat until it's as shrunk as you would like it to be. And again, you need to play around with the different kinds of ribbon. Some will heat quicker than others, some will crinkle up a little bit differently, and then some just simply won't pull together and shrink at all. So it's going to get loud for just a minute, but let's see if we can heat this. Let's move it up here so maybe you can see it better. Okay, I'll blow around on me. Sorry about that. Should turn it off instead of chasing it with two hands. Okay, there we go. Well, you get the idea. Let me pull this end over here. You can see where it's starting to crinkle up and it's starting to move. Let's grab a piece of our taffeta. Satin ribbons work really well, so our organza and things like that. But let's just grab a different kind of ribbon here. And again, you're going to see it start to kind of shrink up, and it's going to pull up on itself, okay, by holding the heat. And you can hold it a lot longer than I did. Obviously, I want to keep moving in the video, and you don't need to stand here all day, but you're just going to keep the heat really, really close, and it's just going to start to bunch up, and you're going to start to see it shrink up, and that's how you heat it. So that's going to give you a really fun look for that, and I have a really cute gift bag done with this one on my blog. So another option for you is to simply crinkle your ribbon. And so we're going to go ahead and let's make ourselves a little bow here. And the crinkling gives it a vintage look or a vintage vibe. So here I have it all crinkled, and you can just simply have a big bowl of water handy. You can have a spritzer handy. It's going to be totally up to you how you work it. If you got a whole bunch of them, you may soak them all at once. A lot of times I just put them in my hand, take them to a sink. I'm blessed to have a little kitchen area in my craft area, and so I just run them over to the sink. And now you're just going to let it dry. Now, if you're impatient or you're working and you have this idea like I tend to have at the last minute and you want to dry them in a hurry, you can microwave them. But you can see where it's got that old, I've been packed away in a box for a long time look. So it's got that old crinkly vintage look to it. So you can let it just dry on its own. You could also put it in the microwave, and I find I'll put it on at a minute at a time and then just kind of keep heating it until I've got it dry and I can use it right away. So that's what happens when you're impatient. Okay, another option for you is to take ribbon and actually use our markers on it and to create like an ombre effect. Actually, first off, you can just color it solid. I could totally change the color of this organza ribbon with the marker and just make it one color. But ombre is still kind of a pretty hot thing in the crafting world, in the fashion world, in the home decor world. So we're going to do an ombre. Stampin' Up's markers have two tips, a fine point and a brush point, and the brush point is perfect for this technique. So you're just going to go ahead and you're going to start with the dark color, and I'm just brushing it through. You want to make sure that you're always working with a piece of paper underneath because your ribbon is porous and some of the ink will come through to the other side. We'll take our next color, make sure I find that tip, and you can just see how that's just going right onto the ribbon. And again, just a reminder, these are ribbons that I intend to use for crafting purposes, and I don't intend them to go through the wash or to get wet, so using our classic colors and inks and markers is just perfect for the project. And then lastly, we'll go ahead and we'll add, oops, wrong end, Janet. We'll add our lighter color to this. And so now I've got this ombre colored ribbon. And you can go over it a few more times if you want it darker, if you want more contrast. You could have had a little bit of a lighter hand or a lighter ink. These are just the colors that I picked for right now for contrast. And so let me move it off of the ink, and there you can see the dark, the medium, and the lighter color, the three-tone blues that are on that ribbon. And again, working with a lighter ribbon is going to work well. I like the look of this organza, and I just kind of wanted to also expose you to some of the different ribbons that Stampin' Up! Has. But of course, you could also do the same effect with taffeta. You could even do it on some of our natural canvas ribbons and things like that. And this is our wider natural canvas ribbon. This would be a great one to do the ombre with. This one actually takes ink really well, takes markers really well. So it's also a great one to stamp. So just exposing you to some of our different ribbons. So we're going to keep moving. Something else that you can do is you can dye your ribbon. This ribbon actually started white, and what we did was we took a little bit of water. If I'm doing a lot of ribbon, maybe I'm doing a big class mailing or something, or like when I did the mailing of the cards for this, and this is actually, let me pull this over here on this card here, this little Calypso Coral ribbon matches the Calypso Coral paper, and we don't happen to have any Calypso Coral ribbon like that in our line, which is why I wanted to dye it. But I had a whole bunch to do, so I got myself a big bowl and filled it with re-inker. If you're just working on one or two cards that you want to work with, just any kind of small little plastic container is great. And you can just, ooh, shoot, the lid came off. That's not good. Well, I was going to say, put a few drops in at a time, and when you soak your ribbon, if you're not liking how dark it's going to get, then add some more re-inker. But let's just go ahead and we'll stick that in there. The longer you let the ribbon sit in the water re-inker mix, the better. There's no ratio where I can say 5 tablespoons of water, 2 drops of re-inker. It's going to be totally personal, and you're just going to start to let it soak. And you can see already where it's starting to dye, and it was originally white, and I don't think I have any white ribbon handy. You can see a little edge of that there. You can see how much it's already dyed. And of course, the longer I let it sit, the better. When I'm done with this, I will pull it out and I will pat it dry on a paper towel and then stretch it out on another paper towel so that it will go ahead and dry. But this is another great way to make custom ribbons for special occasions, school colors. Maybe you're making something fun with a very specific color scheme. So re-inkers and a light neutral ribbon is going to be the perfect way to do that. So we're going to let that just keep cooking. Take advantage of the lid popping off just to see how really dark and pretty that can get. Okay, so there's that project. Another thing that you can do with ribbon is you can easily make a flower with it. And so we're going to go ahead and, where's my pencil? Grab a couple of glue dots here. Okay, that one doesn't want to come up for some reason. Let's use something else that might pick these up a little better. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to lay a couple of glue dots down here in the middle. You can also put a big hunk of liquid glue. I'll be very honest, me and liquid glue are not a good combination. I end up looking like somebody that spent the afternoon in kindergarten or preschool doing art. It just get it everywhere. And so just working with, like a little bit of glue here in the center. I've got 5 lengths of ribbon cut. You can use all different size ribbons. So let's just go ahead and we'll just kind of push those in here for the second. You can use more than 5 loops, even though this card says 5 loops. You can do 6 or 7 loops. There's not a whole lot of rules, and sometimes that's hard for people that need to follow things exactly and aren't comfortable for some reason just kind of going out on their own. But there really are not a whole lot of rules. You can do 6 or 7. Again, the number of loops might depend on the number of, not the number of, excuse me, how wide the ribbon is that you're working with. And now we'll just go ahead and put glue dots in here in the center. This is just a fun way, again, to use up your little ribbon scraps. It's just something different to do. We're so used to seeing either stamped or embossed flowers or something. And so this is just going to add a little dimension to your card project. Okay, and then we're just going to take our loops and fold them all over. And don't worry about it looking too messy, because one of the things that you're going to want to do to finish it off is you're going to want to add a button or a bow or something like that. I want to get rid of that. Make it. I was using scrap ribbon. It is a little easier if you start with them all cut the same length. Probably you were already thinking that, weren't you? You can read your minds right through the video. You could have also used a hot glue gun. That's definitely an option as well too. So there's lots of different possibilities. Again, the hardest thing is that there really just isn't a whole lot of rules in paper crafting. And so you've got your little flower, and then you're going to want to put a little button bow. You can even put a little piece of cardstock on there with a cute little pearl or a cute little rhinestone. So that's another possibility for you, is to do your loop flower just like that. So let's look at another technique. And this one's one of my favorites because this is a great one to use for crafting if you want to make a beautiful pin, if you want to make some flowers like this to sew onto a purse or just some other kind of craft. It's also a great one. It makes beautiful flower embellishments for scrapbook pages and things like that. So these are rolled ribbon flowers. And what I'm working with is I'm working with these jumbo sticky rounds. They're circles. Okay, and they are double-sided adhesive. Basically, think sticky strip. Ooh, that's my craft and ribbon scissors stand. You don't want to cut adhesive with them. We'll have to clean those later with some Goo Gone. So basically, think sticky strip, but in a circle. And you're going to have a red side and a white side. And it really doesn't matter which side you peel off first. And then I like to work right from the roll of ribbon, because you can always pull it back up. And I like to start in the center, and all you're going to do is you're going to give it a twist as you go around, which is where they get the name rolled. It's like you're rolling it. You could also call it twisted flowers, but you're just going to roll it. And how tight you twist it or roll it can also affect the look of the flower. And so we're just going to kind of keep moving it around, working from the center out. And that's all you're going to do. You're going to keep twisting. Just like that. And you'll have the whole way, you'll go the whole way around. And then when you're done, you'll be able to peel this off of the backing and stick it right onto your card, right onto your scrapbook page, right onto maybe you've got a piece of chipboard, coaster board that you're using. And then you'll have, add your pin back and you'll have a beautiful pin. So just as a quick reminder, rolled ribbon flowers is something fun that you can do with your ribbon. You can add it to re-inker and water, and you can start to dye it so that you get a custom color. Here we're working with crisp cantaloupe, and you can see where it's designed to match that cardstock, so you can dye your ribbon. You can also go ahead and use Stampin' Up's markers to do an ombre effect, just like that. You can take and you can wet it and you can crinkle it, and you can let it dry, or if you're impatient like me, you can put it in a microwave and heat it dry, and it gives you a vintage look, old crumpled up look. You can use your ink pads and your stamps, and you can stamp a border on them. Okay, stamp all kinds of images and designs, giving you fun two-toned ribbon, so you can go ahead and do something like that. You can simply create little tabs with your little extras, stapling them, gluing them, using sticky strip behind to hold them down, but you can create little tabs, and so that's something that you can easily do with it. You can use a really fun little pencil and the round eraser to add polka dots, and polka dots I think is a style that never gets old, especially when you're working with sweet little baby cards or ribbons or things like that. Or I think bright colors and polka dots is just a happy thing, so you can do that. And then you can also take and you can do a really tight twist on your ribbon, adding it to your project. Just like so, by taking it and just twisting it, which makes it really nice and mailable. And then also don't forget that you can also heat your ribbon with a heating iron. Now, experiment. I didn't specifically say use taffeta for this, use seam binding for this, use grosgrain for this, because different kinds of ribbon will work for the technique, but giving you a different effect. And I really want to encourage you just to play, because that's what creativity is all about, is just experimenting and just playing and just having some fun. So hopefully I've given you some inspiration to go out and be creative with the ribbons that you have in your stash. And you can stop by remarkablycreated.com for more on the tips and some links to cards and ribbon part 1 and ribbon part 2.